But back to today, and time for our guest now, journalist and podcast host Martin Frizell, who's here to tell a story on behalf of his wife, someone that we're very fond of here, the brilliant Fiona Phillips.
This morning,
Fiona Phillips is one of Britain's most loved broadcasters. She was the trusted face that millions of us woke up to on GMTV.
14 minutes to wait, and these are the headlines you're waking up to this morning.
And there were regular stop-offs in our studio too.
Hi there, welcome to Wednesday's Loose Women.
At GMTV, Fiona found personal happiness as well as professional. It was there she met husband Martin Frizell, father of their 2 boys.
You've got a sticky throat.
Maybe it sounds quite sexy, this kind of hello, good morning.
In 2008, Fiona presented her final programme on GMTV.
It's been such a privilege sharing my mornings with you.
As well as continuing to be a regular face on our screens, she was able to focus more time raising awareness of Alzheimer's after both her parents were diagnosed with the disease. Now Fiona herself is living with it after being diagnosed at 61. But her fight to raise that vital awareness of dementia continues with the release of her book, Remember When.
Hello, thank you for reading my book. Really good of you. Hope you like it. Okay, bye.
Oh, so lovely to see her there. So, Martin, welcome. I just wanted to ask you, first of all, because obviously somebody living with Alzheimer's, there's a day-to-day ups and downs of it all. How is Fiona like right now?
Well, the good news is there's some improvement in terms of her mood, not so much in terms of Alzheimer's, but in terms of just being able to get better sleep, also having a better appetite, I think less confusion. And that's sort of an antidepressant she's been given. And this one works. And as you know, you have to go through quite a few before you get one that actually hits the spot. So this is really helping. So if anything, I think she's actually in a much better place than she was maybe a few weeks ago. And also we've changed the music, thank goodness, you know, because I was getting a bit fed up with the stylistics every single day. It moved from the stylistics to Andy Williams, which is great, but now it's Sting. So we're into Sting now, because as you know, anybody who's gone through Alzheimer's, and almost everyone in this audience will know someone who's gone through it, if not themselves, then friends. Music is a real great kind of leveler for them and really helps.
Absolutely.
And is a real comfort.
Absolutely. And also because, of course, it plays into long-term memory, which sometimes can remain largely unaffected. I just wanted to ask you also, just watching that footage there, you've probably seen quite a bit of it recently because you've been promoting the book, but how does that make you feel when you watch that?
Well, Fiona's main problem with the Alzheimer's just now is frustration, and she's someone who worked from the age of 11, had a paper round at the age of 11, and didn't stop working until just probably a couple of years ago when the Alzheimer's made it difficult for her to do so. So she'll watch telly and she'll get frustrated that she's not working. And because she'll get anxious or frightened thinking about it. And for me, having seen all those things and knowing her, I mean, this was a fearless woman. I mean, you know what it's like doing live television. You need to have your wits about you. A lot of people won't do it because of that. But she spent decades doing this. She was in Los Angeles for several years during an earthquake. And so seeing her now in that kind of anxious kind of phase is horrible. It's really horrible. But then the whole of Alzheimer's is horrible as such. But she's still with us, very much with us, and sharp as a tack. And occasionally you'll think, oh, she won't remember if I do something. And she will pick up on stuff. That's still very much there. Yes. But also, it's the stubbornness of it as well. I mean, people will say, well, what did you first get attracted to? I mean, now, in this business, there are people of different characters, shall we say, to put it nicely. But she was the nicest person that I've ever met. So that was one kind of thing that I just kind of loved about her. And she still is to this day. I mean, she tries to do what she can in terms of kind of get you something, knowing that she can't do it, but she'll go out of her way to try and sort of, you know, make people comfortable.
Martin, you were speaking earlier about work and jobs and doing, being in this industry. You were, in fact, the editor for This Morning, and you chose to step down from that to help to care for Fiona. How are you and the boys doing?
Well, when she was first diagnosed, and the book is written by kind of 3 people, you know, Fiona, of course, myself, I suggested to the publisher, should I do a couple of paragraphs from the family's point of view? And they said, well, that'd be nice. I ended up writing 24,000 words because I got so angry about how what lack of support there is for Alzheimer's people. And also Alison Phillips, who's the editor of, or was the editor of the Daily Mirror. So there's 3 of us involved in this, and so we all had a part to play. And so that kept me busy, and people kept saying to me, but are you okay, but are you okay? And I'm saying, hang on, I'm not the one that's got the problem here, you know? But actually, when I think about it, yes, you absolutely have to, because I know if I don't look after myself, the whole house of cards falls down. So you have to, and Fiona's very lucky. She's got a professor who sees her once every 3 months. Can't do much for her, but they say hello. And the last time we saw him, I said something. Selfishly, I went away for the night or whatever it is. He said, no, you can't use that word. You cannot use that word. You know, this is about, you know, you keeping well. Because if you're not well, then she's going to really suffer from that. So I listen, selfishly, or whatever it is, I do make sure, you know, I'm still working, I'm still doing things. I'm just not doing the mad 7 days a week that this morning was, almost like 24 hours. So I can do 3 or 4.
And Martin, when you were at the doctor's, I remember reading that you said you were handed a leaflet and there was a photograph of a grey old lady, like, over a Zimmer frame, and you just looked at your beautiful wife who's in this gorgeous green suit looking fabulous, and you're like, well, how does this represent us and how we're going to navigate the future? I mean, do you think there's a lot of stigma with Alzheimer's and you're kind of just sent out to pasture, like, you know, well, you've had a good innings, you know, it's not an illness, it's not a disease, it's just more of a care situation now. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, she was looking $1 million. We got along, quite smart, and she didn't look her age at all. And the doctor says, I'm terribly sorry, but, you know, in this roundabout way, and again, there's still not a fast test for Alzheimer's. Diagnosis is dreadful as well. He said, but it was a lumbar puncture. I'm sorry, but it is Alzheimer's. I'll go and get you a cup of tea while you kind of, you know, think about it. And here's a leaflet to help you on your way with some advice. And it was no disrespect, but it was an old lady. Was it a Zimmer frame or a walking stick? I'm not quite sure now, but her husband was beside her, her partner, you know, white hair. Clearly, you know, I thought in their late 70s or 80s or so. And it didn't apply to us at all. There was no kind of help. And Janet might have a view on this. I just think there's a whole kind of thing about ageism playing here as well.
I was going to ask you, my next question was going to be, do you feel angry? You're an investigative journalist. You've got a distinguished career as a journalist. Now you're in a position where your wife is going through something and you are inextricably tied to her, so you are absolutely on the front line and the support is not there.
Yeah, and it's probably too late for Fiona now in terms of, you know, finding a cure or help or even getting care. So the government's, you know, looking at social care, but they're not. They've kicked it into the long grass for another few years for Louise Casey to look at it. No, I got really angry because when you think about it, it seems to be that all health, and to your point, Alzheimer's is considered a bit of probably care more than a medical problem, but it's all front-loaded health in this country to early life. You know, once you reach a certain age, it's like, well, they've had a good innings, just leave them be.
But to put it bluntly, she's not bad enough.
No.
She's not incontinent. She's not incapable of speech. So she doesn't get that help.
Exactly, but when you go, and again, the doctor says, well, I've got
it's a tick box, isn't it?
Yeah, the doctor says, you've got a couple of... I said, what can you give us? Because, I mean, again, you expect, you know, the NHS or someone can help you with it. They say, well, there's nothing, I'm sorry, it's terminal. But we've got a couple of drugs, and the main drug he gives you, I remember what that drug is. Where did I remember that from? That's the drug her mother got 20 years ago. There's been no movement in it whatsoever. And in the book I talk about, I wish she'd got cancer. And that was deliberately done to provoke and to start a debate, if there is going to be one, about why is cancer considered... I mean, Alzheimer's is the biggest killer in Britain, but why does cancer get so much more press coverage, people just talking about it, 13 times the money spent on it? There are 30 drugs available to the NHS to help you with cancer. There's 2 for Alzheimer's.
Again,
neither of them really work. Yeah, exactly. But also, it's, you know, no one's lived and kind of survived Alzheimer's. So I get it. So cancer, if you get remission, you can take it until you die.
But it should be about quality of life.
It's dreadful, yeah, but where's the dignity in people? And then you get the dreadful thing, and sorry if I'm going on, but started it, got me going on this one.
Yeah, no.
But just a few months ago, there are 2 drugs from America. I get they're expensive, but they give you an extra maybe 6 months of quality of life. slows it down a bit. And then NICE, who actually regulate and buy medicines for the NHS, which is run basically by economists, have this dreadful, equation they work out, cost-benefit analysis. And they decided, no, it's too expensive, we're not going to buy it.
Yeah. Wow. They did it with a breast cancer drug as well, which was life-prolonging.
And it turns out, just in the past week or so, one of those drugs they've said no to, they've done another survey on, and actually it gives you 4 years, not just 6 months, 4 years of extended life, of just, just dignity. All right, maybe you can't go to the pub, or you can't go to the theatre, or you can't, be out with friends.
But that would be better for carers and next of kin.
Yeah, and they forget about the people who have to give up their jobs. And I'm lucky because, we've invested well. I'm still working, so, we'll be all right. But I feel really sorry for people who have to give up, what jobs they had, and they're really struggling. And guess what? If you apply for carers allowance in this country, because if that's what your new job is, it works out at £2.30 an hour.
Yeah.
That's what they care. So they don't. At the end of the day, folks, the book is a snapshot of a family in time. I don't think it's going to do that much, because I think the problem is so big that each government of any colour persuasion is frightened to tackle it.
It's a time bomb, isn't it? I mean, it says, I've got a thing here, government press release, 4 new government-backed research networks were announced earlier this year, which will focus on creating technologies to help dementia patients manage memory loss, communication difficulties, and cope.
It's peanuts.
Better, yes, it is peanuts.
It's peanuts. So, Jane, if you took, for instance, because, where are we going to get money from? We're all short money. Hang on. HS2, hate to mention it, but I will mention it, costs £1 billion a mile to build that thing. If you just gave one of those miles, one of those £1 billion to UCLH, I guarantee they'd sort this out in a year.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to ask you, how are your boys? Because it's a lot for them to cope with as well.
They're great. It's almost like a tag team. We work, they help out. I do kind of mornings because they still sleep. And then I'll probably do dinner. But no, we're getting through. And for the time being, we don't really need much more help. We did have someone in to help in the past, and I pretended it was a housekeeper to get it through. But Fiona saw through that. So no, we're getting through, just like a lot of families. And thank you to everyone who sent messages. I read them all.
And what would she say if she was sitting here now?
She would say, don't give up. She would say, well, what she would say is, because she hasn't got one, get yourself a hobby or a passion or something, so that when you get to this stage, there are things that you can actually involve yourself with. I came home one night after having the dementia choir on this morning, and quietly said to Fiona, have you ever thought of joining a choir? And she said, right off. I said, what about jigsaw, watercolours?
Well, thank you very, very much for coming in to see us, and give our love to Fiona, obviously. Yeah.